Hi guys and welcome to the video. Please like if you enjoy our content and subscribe to get all future notifications. This really helps our channel grow and encourages us to stay busy making videos. Claed Entertainment will be recapping both Avatar 1 and 2 in this movie recap. Please enjoy. The movie starts off with our main character, Jake Sully. We are shown that he is in a wheelchair. We jump to a bar, where Jake sees a woman get slapped. So he pulls the chair out from under the man, causing him to fall as Jake leaps on him from his wheelchair. Jake gets tossed out of the bar for that, and then two suited men approach him about his brother. He's taken to a morgue and shown his brother's body. We now know they were twins. We find out his brother's name was Tommy. The men in suits tell him he has a chance to take over his brother's work. The scene switches to Jake and everyone else waking up from 6 years of cryo sleep as he says he didn't dream at all and it felt like an instant. Their destination is the planet Pandora. We see that the planet is very similar looking to Earth. The team is now flown on a shuttle to the base that is on Pandora. When they land, we get to see a well-established military base as they head inside. We are introduced to Colonel Miles Quaritch, who is the head of operations. They're telling them about the local hostiles, the Na'vi. Miles tells them it is his job to keep them alive, and he will not succeed. After the briefing, we meet Norm Spellman, who introduces himself to Jake as a friend of Tom. He takes Jake to the lab and shows him his avatar, which is a clone of one of the Na'vis designed to match Jake's DNA. Now we get to meet Dr. Grace Augustine as she comes out of a high-tech machine. She is introduced to Jake and seems to be disappointed in his background in science. Parker Selfridge is introduced to us as Grace goes to complain to him as he golfs in the office. She wants a researcher, not another trigger-happy moron. We find out there is a mineral called unobtainium. It sells for 20 million a kilo. This is the whole reason humans and Na'vi are fighting, as the humans are destroying the Na'vi land. Back to the lab where they are preparing to link up to their avatars. Jake has now linked to his avatar as he wakes up to doctors crowding around him. Jake is so excited about standing, he goes straight to the exit door. Once outside, he immediately starts running, enjoying his new body. Grace is impressed as she hands him a fruit. They are taken to their bunker and go to sleep. Jake then wakes up in his body. We're now in the hangar as Jake meets Trudy, the pilot, as she introduces him to her ship and tells Corporal Lyle Wainfleet to get it done. Trudy asks Jake to man a door gun as she takes him to Miles. Miles compliments his military record as we find out he just wants to eliminate the Na'vi while the scientists want peace with them. Miles wants Jake to spy on the Na'vi and report to him, and promises Jake new legs when he gets home if he does. In the next scene, everyone is in Trudy's ship landing in the jungle. They walk to an old abandoned camp they used to run with the Na'vi to gather some gear. We're then taken to the forest where Jake wanders off and runs into a hammerhead rhino. He thinks it runs away from him. He doesn't know what's behind him though. He runs as he gets chased by this vicious-looking cougar, forcing him to jump off a cliff into a river. The first thing he does when he gets to shore is make a spear to defend himself with. We notice a female Na'vi up in the trees spying on Jake. After searching the rest of the day, Trudy and the team have to head back before nightfall. Jake is forced to defend himself against creatures called Viper Wolves. When it starts to look bad, the female Na'vi we seen from earlier shows up and saves him. The first thing she does is throw his torch in water and then finishes off one of the hurt creatures while praying. She walks away mad, saying it's his fault the creatures had to die. "Why did you save me then?" he asks. She says you have a strong heart and no fear, but ignorant like a child. He wants her to teach him, but she says sky people cannot learn and do not see. All of a sudden these white floating seeds with very pure spirits are attracted to Jake, surprising the female Na'vi, so she takes him to her clan. Her clan does not want him there, but she says there has been a sign. This has something to do with the attracted spirits. He is taken to the clan's leader, her father. He does not want Jake here, but she says there was a sign from Iowa. We learn Jake is considered a dreamwalker while humans are sky people and he is not welcome here. Her mother comes to inspect Jake. They decide they will learn more about him and teach him their ways as mother makes this her task. During the evening campfire dinner, Jake finally learns that the female Navi's name is Neytiri. The scene switches to the Navi going to sleep in hammocks. After Jake wakes up he finds Grace and the team greeting him, as he tells them his avatar is at the Navi camp. Back in the base, Miles laughs at the name Jarhead clan Jake said he was part of from his home. Jake explains they want to learn about him and teach him. Parker and Miles give him 3 months to make the Navi move so they can mine under the spirit tree. Jake finds out Iowa is like their god before he gets back in the link chamber. The next day, we find Jake learning how to ride their version of a horse and how to bond with a creature using his tail. We are swapped back to Jake showing the weakness of their home to Miles. The movie then skips to the team in Trudy's helicopter as they fly to Site 26, a separate mobile link camp in the floating mountains. They end up landing at the campsite. One thing to note is humans need to wear a mask on the planet's surface. Time for them to link up now as we skip to Neytiri and Jake as she shows him the flying creature called Ikran. The movie then shows Jake spending weeks learning the Navi ways. Neytiri puts Jake through a few tests that he fails. He talked the clan into letting Grace's avatar in and learn with the people. Grace is respected by them. Jake might almost be spending as much time learning Navi as I do making these videos. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. We can see Jake starting to have feelings for Neytiri. He explains that all life is a borrowed energy that you have to give back. Grace is lecturing Jake, telling him to take care of his real body too as he is losing weight. Jake asks Grace what happened at the school. Grace explains Neytiri's sister stopped coming to school because she was angry at humans for cutting down trees. They attacked a bulldozer and ran to school where the soldiers followed them and shot them. Everyone quit coming to school after that. After one of Jake's hunts, Neytiri tells him he is ready. Now that he's ready, he needs his own Ikran, which humans call banshees. Every hunter has to pass this test. After a climb that I would never attempt, and a path I would avoid. They reach the Ikran nest. Sute tells Jake to go first. Jake slowly approaches the Ikran looking for his match. Jake finds an Ikran that challenges him. This means Jake is accepted by the Ikran if Jake can subdue him. This turned into a rodeo real quick. Jake almost gets thrown off the cliff as he hangs onto a vine. He makes it back, subdues the Ikran and ends up making his bond. Neytiri makes him fly to seal the bond. The flight starts off in an awkward spin as Jake tells his Ikran to shut up and fly straight. He's now gained control over the Ikran. Jake has finished all of the tests and trials and is an official Navi as he flies with the clan and Neytiri. We are then taken to a Navi clan hunt where they hunt something like their version of a buffalo. Jake makes his first kill here and is now known as an aerial hunter. This is when we get introduced to the Toruk as it starts to chase them to the woods until they lose it. Humans call it Leonopteryx. It is also known to the Navi as Last Shadow. Neytiri's grandfather was Toruk Mokdo, rider of Last Shadow. Jake finds out that only a Toruk Mokdo can unite all of the Navi clans together. Jake wakes up and says he's feeling like out there is the true world. He's now having a talk with Miles, who's telling him he's done enough recon and he's getting his real legs back. The shuttle's taking him back home tonight. Jake tells Miles he's on the last stage of the clan, and during the ceremony he will negotiate the relocation terms. Miles tells him he better get it done. We jump to Jake being accepted into the clan, as part of the people now. Neytiri takes Jake to the Tree of Voices, a place for prayers to be heard and sometimes answered. Jake bonds with the tree, he feels and hears the spirits of the past Navi. Neytiri tells him he must choose a woman and starts to list off some of the women with skills. He's not taking any of this advice as he tells her he already has chosen, but she must choose him too. They end up bonding together, as she tells him she is with him now. Neytiri wakes up the next morning to the sounds of machines tearing down trees as she tries to wake Jake. Jake's having a snack before he links up. He links up to bulldozers plowing the trees as he tries to stop it. He's fired at by a soldier forcing him to run. Back to the Na'vi camp where Grace tries to convince them to not fight the humans. Miles heads to Site 26 to unlink them before they get to do any convincing. He tells Jake he let him down when Grace tries to explain to Parker how sacred the trees are because they're networked together. Parker laughs and says they're just trees as Miles shows a recording of Jake saying they won't give up their home and would die first. He says, everything he was sent to do was a waste of time and they'll never leave the home tree. We're back to the bulldozer site seeing that the Na'vi destroyed that convoy. War has now been triggered. When someone has something you want, you make them your enemy and then take it. Grace and Jake try to tell Parker to let him convince them. He gives him 1 hour. Jake tells the Na'vi a great evil is upon them. Sky people want to destroy the home tree and ask them to leave. He was sent to learn their ways so they will believe his message. Neytiri is let down and Grace and Jake are tied up. The Sky people fly up on the Na'vi as Miles sees Jake tied up, initiating the war. Gas is fired, the Na'vi shoot arrows back, so Miles switches to incendiary. Neytiri's mom asks Jake to help as she releases him. The Sky people then rain missiles all over the forest. Trudy didn't sign up for this crap as she flies off. Fire and destruction is everywhere as the huge tree starts to fall over. The Na'vi are devastated at the sight of the tree as the Sky people head back to base. Neytiri is given her father's bow as he passes. The disconnect link is initiated as Grace and Jake are taken into custody. We're now back to our hero Trudy as she breaks out Grace, Jake, and Norm. She then calls Max in to free them with his card. They sneak off to the hangar and prep a jet when Miles gets an unauthorized engine start up. This determined colonel holds his breath while he steps outside to shoot at the team. Now that's gangster. Everyone celebrates until we find out Grace was hit. The team uses Trudy's gunship to take the Site 26 equipment to a separate location. We're shown a quick scene of the Na'vi clan mourning at a new location. Back to Jake as he relinks to his avatar. He tells his Ikran they have something to do, and he isn't gonna like it. Jake is headed for the Toruk as he theorizes the big bad bird never needs to look up. We don't get to see what happens as the scene flips back to the Na'vi camp as Jake arrives riding the Toruk. Things are about to get real now as Jake is accepted as Toruk Mokdo. Jake goes straight to Tsute and tells him he is here to serve the Omaticaya people. He tells him he can't do it without him. Tsute answers with, I will fly with you. Jake then tells them his friend Grace is dying and needs Iwa's help. The Na'vi start a ritual that may or may not transfer Grace into her avatar. The mother states Grace is very weak from the wound. In the end, her wounds were too great and there wasn't enough time. She's with Iwa now. Jake then makes a hell of a good speech telling them to fly out to all the other clans and tell them Turok Mokdo calls to them. They rode out to the Four Winds, the Horse Clan, the Ikran people, and all the other clans, and they all came answering the call. The scene now changes to Miles giving a speech about the Na'vi grouping and wants a preemptive attack. He wants to crater their location. Max tells Jake over comms the strike starts at 0600. We see Jake warning the tree about the Sky people and how their planet has no more green. It's 0600 now as the military heads out to war, but the Na'vi are ready. All the units are deployed on the ground and start hunting for the Na'vi as the flight team starts their hunt also. The Na'vi Ikran team has the advantage of higher skies as they ambush the helicopters. The ground team then starts an engagement as all hell breaks loose. That doesn't last long as the Na'vi start a retreat. We see Miles chasing Jake until Trudy comes doing a flyby on Miles's ship. Trudy takes a few pop shots at their pilot window and makes a cool phrase. Her ship then takes some damage and she flies away. We skip to Neytiri whose Ikran gets killed knocking her off. We see nothing but the Na'vi being dominated as Tsute takes a few out before he's gunned down. Trudy apologizes to Jake, Norm's avatar takes a shoulder hit, and Trudy's gunship is exploded. Jake fails to reach anyone on over the radio as the Sky People start arming the bombs. Neytiri responds and tells Jake she lost her Ikran and the humans are very close. He tells Neytiri not to attack, she doesn't want to listen. All of a sudden the ground team detects movement ahead, they prepare for it as the hammerhead rhinos and all the animals come stampeding in to assist the Na'vi. Neytiri says Iowa heard him. All of a sudden one of those vicious viper wolves approaches Neytiri intending to bond. The bomber is now 30 seconds away as it gets swarmed with Na'vi. Before they can start dropping bombs, Jake blows an engine that brings down the bomber. Jake's now attacking the Colonel's ship and manages to throw a missile in one of the ship's fans, bringing down the ship. Miles manages to get in a suit of armor and grabs a gun as he leaps out before the ship explodes. With a bit of luck, Miles instantly runs into the trailer that Jake's human body is linked in. Before he gets to shoot the trailer up, Neytiri shows up in his rearview mirror attacking him. Okay, time out, a rearview mirror inside of a mech? Yup, okay. Just making sure. Neytiri and Miles get into a vicious fight. Miles ends up pulling out a Rambo knife and stops the Viper Wolf. Before Miles finishes off Neytiri, Jake shows up and him and the Colonel go at it. Miles asks Jake how it feels to betray your race as he walks to the trailer to destroy the pod containing Jake. Due to a broken window air breach, Jake's real body weakens him as Miles grabs him to finish him off. Before he gets to insert the knife into Jake, Neytiri frees herself and sends 2 arrows into Miles's chest, ending his reign. Jake then wakes up gasping for air as he reaches for an air breather. He passes out before putting it on, but Neytiri comes to his aid and saves him. We're taken back to the dying Tsute as Jake and Neytiri approach him. After Jake tells him the people are safe, he hands Jake his knife asking for death, saying it is good, and he will be remembered because he fought with Toruk Mokto, they were brothers, and he was his last shadow. After those words, Jake sends him to be joined with Iowa. We flip to the scene of the Na'vi escorting the remaining humans to their ships to leave their planet. Only a few humans were chosen to stay. The great sorrow is over. We're back to Jake making his last video log saying he doesn't want to be late for his own party. At the Tree of Spirits the ritual is being performed to transfer Jake into his avatar as he wakes up. This is how the movie ends. Now let's start our recap of Avatar 2 where the story continues on. Over a decade after the events of the first movie, the new movie begins with Jake Sully narrating his simple and peaceful life as chief of the Omaticaya clan and raising a family with his wife Neytiri. His family consists of his sons Netayam and Lok and his daughter Tu, as well as his adopted daughter Kiri, born from Grace Augustine's comatose Na'vi avatar, and a human boy named Spider. The son of Miles, Spider is able to be accepted by Jake as an adopted son, although Neytiri is wary of him due to his human heritage. Jake is able to embrace Spider. However, all of the children play well together and get along well with each other, especially Kiri and Spider. They were leading an ordinary existence until one day they happened to see an unusual star in the sky at night. They discover, much to their dismay, that it is an RDA spaceship carrying people coming to Pandora with the intention of colonizing the planet, establishing a new main operational base once more, and causing major damage to Pandora in the process. Colonel Quaritch has been cloned into a Na'vi body and has had his memories from before he passed away transferred into his new body. He is one of the new passengers that have boarded the ship. As a consequence of this, Quaritch is not able to recall the circumstances surrounding his death at the hands of Jake. Instead, he is only able to recall the events that occurred in the past and his vindictive goal to murder Jake. Jake is in charge of leading a planned guerrilla campaign against the RDA supply lines in order to weaken them and prevent the RDA from abusing Pandora once more. During one of the missions, Lok, who disobeys Netayam and is anxious to show himself as a Na'vi warrior, tries to aid Jake in fight but ends up getting injured. Jake comes to his rescue and teaches him not to put his own well-being in jeopardy by being so careless. In the evening, when Neytiri was ministering to Jake's wounds, she calmly reminded him not to be too hard on Lok. In response, Jake expressed his worry as a parent for the safety of his children. Meanwhile, Quaritch isn't happy with the retaliatory hit that was carried out on the RDA supply lines, so he sets out on a hunt expedition to eliminate Jake. In the course of their joyful excursion, Jake's children and Spider journey further into the tropical jungle. Quaritch and his crew are in the area researching the location where Quaritch discovers his human remains, although they are unaware of Quaritch and his team's presence. Jake is alerted to their existence by a perceptive Loke, who does not waste any time in passing on the news. After a battle breaks out, Quaritch's group manages to kidnap Jake's children. Jake and Neytiri make it in time and are able to save the majority of them, but Spider is captured by Quaritch since he recognizes him as his son. On board the ship, the RDA makes an attempt to get Spider to provide information on Jake, but she refuses. In a shift in tactics, Quaritch refers to Spider as his son and offers to educate him about the Na'vi in exchange for his allegiance to Quaritch's cause and his release. Jake convinces a reluctant Neytiri and his family to banish themselves from the Omaticaya clan and retreat to the eastern seaboard of Meetkaina, a coral reef island whose clan and lifestyle is adapted to Pandora's aquatic environment. As soon as they arrived, they were hailed by the clan leader Tanoari and his wife Ronal, who first had their suspicions about them. However, Jake explains their predicament, and in response, they are allowed to stay and provided shelter. The family works hard to win the respect of the reef people, despite the fact that some members of Jake's tribe laugh at him and his children because of their genetic human background. While Loke makes friends with Sireya, the daughter of the clan leader Tanoari and his wife Ronal, Kiri becomes enthralled with the marine life of Meetkaina and eventually forms a spiritual connection with the water and its inhabitants. During the process of adjusting to their new surroundings, Loke gets into a confrontation with Sireya's brother Aonung when the latter makes an offensive remark about Kiri and Loke's mixed human and alien ancestry. Jake reprimands his son for behaving in such a way. Loke goes back to Aonung and his pals to express his regret for what he did. Jake insisted that he do so. However, they trick him into traveling into the region of a hazardous marine predator known as the Akula and then abandon him there as their form of retribution. The Akula makes an attempt to attack Loke. Payakin, a tulkun, a kind of intelligent and peaceful cetacean considered to be a member of the spiritual family of the Meetkaina, comes to Loke's rescue and becomes his companion. Loke is able to speak with Payakin through sign language, and he removes an ancient harpoon head that was attached to the creature's right fin. When Chief Tanoari got back to Meetkaina, he asked Aonung to apologize to Loke since he knew that Loke had been tricked by Aonung. On the other hand, Loke takes the guilt upon himself, which helps him earn Aonung's friendship. In addition to this, it is conveyed to him that Payakin is an outcast among his kind. During this time, Kiri experiences a terrible seizure while traveling to a branch of the Tree of Souls in order to connect up with it so that she might see her mother. Ronal is the one who ends up healing her, but Quaritch is able to follow Jake's appeal for assistance and find Norm Spellman and Max Patel in the archipelago that the reef people call home. He takes Spider along with him as he takes control of a whaling vessel that is looking for tulkuns in order to collect the brain enzymes of the tulkuns in order to create anti-aging treatments. Quaritch gives instructions to the whaling crew to wantonly kill the tulkuns in the hopes of coercing Jake out of hiding so that he might be found. He then begins to mercilessly interrogate the native communities in the area regarding Jake's whereabouts. After establishing a mental connection with Payakin, Loke finds out that the tulkun was exiled because he violated the customs of his people by attacking the whalers who were responsible for the death of his mother. The setting now shifts to one in which the Sky people are engaged in the pursuit of a tulkun pack. After marking a mother, we witness them give pursuit to the animal. They make use of a wide variety of high-tech apparatus, including submarines. Because the tulkun dive deep into the ocean, the Sky people have to use depth charges to bring them back up to the surface. If they don't, their hearing will be permanently damaged. To coax the tulkuns up to the surface, the submarines are armed with harpoons that have air balloons connected to them. As soon as the tulkun has reached the surface, an explosive-tipped harpoon is launched in the direction of the mother tulkun. The hunter is impressed by her ability to continue racing after being struck in the chest with an exploding harpoon. After a short period of time, she ultimately passes away, and we are shown the newborn tulkun grieving over its loss. They drill into the mouth of the tulkun in order to extract a substance called amrita that can stop the aging process in humans. Miles wants to make sure Jake is aware that it was him by leaving the bags on. In the next scene, Ronal discovers the floating body of Mother Tulkun. This prompts the Meetkaina to prepare for battle. Jake, on the other hand, attempts to convince them that if they fight, they have no chance of winning. It isn't until Jake shows them a beacon and tells them that if a tulkun is hit with one of these, it is doomed. On that note, the Meetkaina decide to send the tulkun far away to be safe. After the Meetkaina were made aware of the slaughter of the tulkun, Loke's siblings, Sireya and Aonung, immediately headed out to inform Payakin of the situation. They find out that Payakin is being pursued by the whalers, and they also learn that Loke, Kiri, and Took have already been captured by Quaritch. As a direct result of the danger that the humans presented to their young, Jake, Neytiri, and the meat hyena made the decision to confront them. Jake is coerced into giving up by Quaritch, but Payakan, seeing that his soul brother was in danger, fought the whalers when he realized they were in danger. This triggered a battle that ultimately led to the deaths of the bulk of the ship's crew and inflicted substantial damage to the ship, which ultimately culminated in the vessel going down with all hands. Neteyam is put to death in the process, despite the fact that Loke and Spider are saved. Jake confronts Quaritch, who is now holding Kiri as a hostage in his possession. When Neytiri does the same thing to Quaritch, he first denies that Spider is his son. However, after Neytiri cuts Spider in the chest, Quaritch changes his mind and admits that Spider is in fact his child. Jake, Quaritch, Neytiri, and Took are unable to leave as the ship begins to sink since they are trapped within. After Jake renders Quaritch unconscious by choking him, Loke and Payakan come to his aid to save him from further harm. In the meantime, Kiri makes a plea to the sea species around her for assistance in saving Neytiri and Took. Spider is able to locate and save Quaritch, but in the end, he decides not to stay with him because of Quaritch's horrible treatment of the Na'vi and the fact that he loves his goal to murder Jake's family more than being a great dad and maturing into a respectable adult. Quaritch's quest to murder Jake's family is more important to him than being a respectable adult and being a nice parent. Because of this choice, Spider winds up going back to live with Jake and his family. After the funeral and burial of Neteyam, Jake and his family come to the conclusion that they would like to continue residing with the meat hyena indefinitely. Thanks for watching my recap of Avatar 2. Since you stayed this long, I hope you wouldn't mind hitting that like and subscribe button for me. Hope you enjoyed, stay safe and God bless. Please support me with that like button and subscribing if you enjoyed this video, it really helps me out and will give you all future video release updates. As always, thank you so much for watching, stay safe and God bless.